Humble greetings to all my dear viewers. The topic that I'm going to discuss here is going to focus on all over Ukraine and the significant impacts made in the lives of Ukrainians and Ukraine by Russia's full-scale invasion since the year of 2022. So, without further delay, let's embark on the journey of getting to know all about the Ukraine-Russia war in detail. Starting off, Ukraine, the second largest country in Europe, harbors an exceptional array of natural habitats ranging from pristine grasslands to ancient evergreen forests, serving as significant carbon sequesters in mitigating global warming while concurrently offering shelters for a myriad of species. Despite spanning across a fraction of Europe's landmass, Ukraine boasts an impressive 35% of the continent's biodiversity owing to its strategic geographic landscape, well known for its diverse natural zones, and it stands as bridging medium for migratory pathways. Its diverse flora and fauna consist over 70,000 species, including numerous rare, relict, and endemic ones. Ukrainian landscapes serving as natural habitats for about 45,000 of species of animals, according to the framework of the State Cadastre of Fauna Development, a database related to GIS, has been progressively declining over the decades by the gradual progression of the deforestation, urbanization, and industrialization that have been leading to the extinction of many local species and to the emergence of species that historically arrived from other areas, including crop pests. These processes have unfortunately accelerated in the 21st century, most notably since 2014, when Russia began its military invasion of Ukraine that involved the illegal annexation of the Autonomous Republic of Crimea, regarded as a gross violation of international law, violation of a peace treaty with the Ottoman Empire, and territorial integrity of Ukraine. The legal status of Crimea as an integral part of Ukraine's territory was enshrined in the constitution of the Ukrainian SSR of 1978. Article 77 of this constitution enumerates the Crimean Oblast among other oblasts of the Ukrainian SSR. The first international treaty between Ukraine and Russia guaranteeing the territorial integrity of Ukraine and inviolability of its borders was concluded at Kiev on the 19th of November 1990. Article 6 of this treaty stipulated that the high contracting parties recognize and respect the territorial integrity of the Russian Soviet Federal Socialist Republic and the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic within the existing framework of the USSR borders. After the USSR's dissolution within the framework of the Commonwealth of Independent States, CIS, a number of agreements were concluded, which mentioned the principles of territorial integrity and inviolability of borders of the former Soviet republics. Among these agreements are the Almaty Declaration on the 21st of December 1991, the Agreement on Councils of Heads of State and Government on the 30th of December 1991, the Declaration on Observance of the Sovereignty, Territorial Integrity and Immunity of Borders of the States involving members of the Commonwealth of Independent States, being held on the 15th of April 1994. The UN Security Council indeed reaffirmed its commitment to the territorial integrity of Ukraine in accordance with the Charter of the United Nations that was addressed during the time that involved a significant presidential statement of the UN Security Council. The Council recalled that in the treaty between the Russian Federation and Ukraine, signed at Kiev on the 19th of November 1990, the high contracting parties committed themselves to respect each other's territorial integrity within their currently existing frontiers. On the 31st of May 1997, Ukraine and Russia concluded the Treaty on Friendship, Cooperation and Partnership between the Russian Federation and Ukraine, the big treaty that was implemented to put an end to any potential territorial claims by Russia to Ukraine. This treaty conclusively guaranteed that Russia lost any legal opportunity to challenge the territorial integrity of Ukraine. Article 2 of the treaty stipulated that in accord with the provisions of the UN Charter and the obligations of the final act of the Conference on Security and Cooperation in Europe, the high contracting parties shall respect each other's integrity and reaffirm the inviolability of the borders existing between them. In the Russian doctrine of international law, the status of Crimea as an integral part of Ukraine's territory was, generally speaking, widely supported. A proof of this thesis can be found in P.P. Kremnev's, a Russian professor's monograph, The Dissolution of the USSR, International Legal Problems, Moscow 2005. The monograph was published under the aegis of the M.V. Lomonosov Moscow State University Law Faculty Chair of International Law, and among its reviewers was Professor A.L. Kolotkin, then President of the Russian Association of International Law. Professor Kremnev wrote in his monograph that Ukraine from 25th of April 2004 had received in regard to Crimea fully fledged and already undeniable legal rights from the stances of both international and internal state law. Regarding Crimea's status under the Big Treaty of 1997, Kremnev stated that after the fully fledged introduction into force of the treaty, on the basis of its Article 2, the high contracting parties respect the territorial integrity of each other. Ukraine for the first time receives the treaty norm on the right to Crimea, including Sevastopol, and Russia at the same time loses the possibility to present any legally grounded claims to this territory. As of the statement made by Professor Kremnev as herein, it explicitly recognizes and validated two crucial facts. These highlighted that first and foremost, Ukraine has undeniable legal rights to Crimea from the point of view of both international and national law. Second is that Russia has lost once and for all the possibility of raising any legally grounded claims to Crimea. To sum up, by annexing Crimea, Russia has violated not only generally recognized principles of international law as expressed in the UN Charter, but also a whole range of international treaties and agreements concluded with the participation of Russia and Ukraine, as well as the UN Security Council's decision. The principle of estoppel is one of the general principles of international law and widely regarded as an emanation of the principle of good faith. As such, it belongs to the sources of international law. To put the matter simply, the principle of estoppel obliges states not to contradict themselves. This principle, taken from Anglo-Saxon legal culture, is also known in other legal systems. In German law as a principle of trust, in Roman law as non concedit when re contra factum proprium, which means no one may set himself in contradiction to his own previous conduct. By annexing Crimea, Russia has violated the principle of estoppel. Tracing through back in history, we are allowed to gain some useful insights that would be serving as the key to approach the issue involving the annexation of Crimea by Russia and the current affairs involving raging battle among Ukraine and Russia since the large full-scale invasion into Ukraine by Russia in 2022, rather in a more rightful way. To put it in a more brief and a straightforward manner, Crimea, that is considered as the center of attention in the issues involving Russia and Ukraine since 2014, it does not legitimately belong to Russia indeed, because its initial annexation in 1783 by the Russian Empire was a colonial conquest that displaced the indigenous Crimean Tatars and later manipulated the region's demographics through forced deportations and Russian resettlement, especially under Stalin. Furthermore, taking a more closer look back at history in the attempt to figure out when actually the foundation of acquiring the NATO membership for Ukraine was initially laid out, it can be informed that the year 2002 marked Ukraine's first and foremost step towards the declaration of its interest in joining NATO. This approach of volunteering to join NATO was rooted in a desire to protect its sovereignty and was directly influenced by growing separatist movements in Crimea throughout the 1990s and early 2000s, with pro-Russian sentiments and destabilizing influences rising in the region. Ukraine saw NATO as a means to safeguard its territorial integrity. NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, is a political and military alliance of 32 countries from North America and Europe based on the principle of collective defense as outlined in Article 5 of the North Atlantic Treaty. This means an attack against one member is considered an attack against all. As of today, NATO's member states, called NATO allies, are sovereign countries that come together to discuss political and security issues and make collective decisions by consensus requiring unanimous agreement. NATO was originally established by 12 founding countries on April 4th of 1949 in the aftermath of World War II to ensure peace and stability through mutual defense. Over time, it has expanded both in membership and scope, now engaging in crisis management, peacekeeping, counterterrorism, and cyber defense, while upholding democratic values, individual freedoms, and the rule of law. It was only after Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014 and the ongoing war in Donbass, where Russian-backed separatists caused thousands of deaths, Ukraine understood that NATO membership was the only credible long-term deterrent against further Russian aggression. The massing of Russian troops on Ukraine's borders in early 2022 reinforced this urgency. By 2022, Ukraine's desire to join NATO had become a critical national priority driven by escalating security threats, a clear strategic realignment toward the West, and the realization that neutrality had failed to protect its sovereignty. However, Russia viewed Ukraine's potential NATO membership as a direct threat to its national security and regional influence, fearing the expansion of Western military infrastructure right on its borders. To prevent Ukraine from joining NATO and to reassert control, Russia intensified its hybrid warfare tactics and ultimately launched a full-scale invasion in February 2022, aiming to destabilize Ukraine, install a pro-Russian regime, and halt its Western trajectory by force. Yet, rather than resorting to coercion, war, and either illegal annexation or invasion, Russia could have pursued a rightful and diplomatic approach. It could have engaged in serious dialogue with Ukraine and NATO through official mechanisms like the NATO-Russia Council, proposing mutual security guarantees or non-aggression agreements, respecting Ukraine's sovereignty and right to choose its alliances would have created an atmosphere of trust, potentially making NATO less necessary in the eyes of Ukrainians. Moreover, by offering voluntary economic partnerships and cooperative alternatives rather than pressure and intimidation, Russia might have maintained mutual ties with Ukraine that fosters mutual respect rather than force. The currently ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine has been leading to a vast range of detrimental environmental consequences that grow at an exponential rate over time, costing resources and lives. That has now become a major cause for concern. According to the data of the Ministry of Environmental Protection and Natural Resources of Ukraine, for the period from February 24th of 2022 to March 30th of 2023, environmental damages caused by the Russian aggression were estimated at UAH 1.9 trillion. The war has caused more than $56.4 billion in damage to the environment. There has been widespread chemical contamination of air, water, and soil, and 30% of Ukraine has been contaminated with landmines and unexploded ordnance. The damages to the air caused by burning of petroleum products, wildfires, ignition of other objects were estimated at UAH 988,951 billion as from February 24th of 2022 to March 30th of 2023. The soil pollution was estimated to be at UAH 12 billion as from February 24th of 2022 to March 30th of 2023, along with waste generation involving soil contamination by waste at UAH 855 billion. Furthermore, damages posed to water resources through the spill of oil products and toxic substances were estimated to be at UAH 19 million. Damage to the biological resources in the nature reserves involving fires, destruction of objects in the nature reserve fund, and deforestation was estimated to be at UAH 223 million. 30% of the country's total area belonging to potentially dangerous territories requiring the disposal of explosive objects as identified by the International Coordination Center for Humanitarian Demining at the State Emergency Service of Ukraine as of March 22nd of 2023 poses a serious threat to public health as agricultural crops grown on soils with military-induced technogenic pollution can cause the formation of malignant tumors in the population or disrupt the systematic coordination of the biological functionality attributed to the human nervous system. It should be also noted that the long-term consequences of war-induced environmental damage can vary from persistent pollution, loss of ecosystems and water quality degradation to large-scale and regional consequences of industrial disasters. For this reason, the impact of military aggression on the state of the environment has negative consequences both on ecosystems and the country's natural resources and human health. The country's biological resources continue to suffer from fires resulting from military activities of the ravaging war between Russia and Ukraine since the year 2022. Since the Russian Federation's full-scale military invasion of the country since February 24th of 2022, 20% of the nature reserves and 3 million hectares of forest in Ukraine were affected by the war as of December 2022. During the year of the full-scale war, 2 biosphere reserves as the Black Sea Biosphere Reserve and the Askania Nova Biosphere Reserve, 10 national nature parks and 8 nature reserves as well as about 600 species of fauna and 750 species of flora were under threat of extinction, including red data book species as according to the Ministry of Environmental Protection and Natural Resources of Ukraine. It should be noted that as of February 2023, deforestation and forest toppling were recorded on the area of 281,223 hectares, which according to expert assessments caused environmental damages in the amount of UAH 6,521 million. Wildfires were identified on the area of 60,269 hectares and environmental damages due to this type of violation was estimated at UAH 166,870 million. Violations of the objects of the Nature Reserve Fund were recorded on the area of 1,240,113 hectares, which was estimated at UAH 102,309 million in environmental damage. The first cases of wildfires were recorded as early as March 12 to 14 of 2022 when Russians deliberately set fire to forests in the exclusion zone of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. The fire, which destroyed 15,000 hectares of forest, including those contaminated by radiation in the area from Ifin to Chernobyl, caused air quality deterioration and animal migration. In the Drevlensky Nature Reserve of Zhytomyr Oblast, 22 fires were recorded where forest and peatlands were burning with a total area of about 2,120 hectares, which caused the migration of animals to the Republic of Belarus and the destruction of rare species of flora. As a result of the sinking of watercraft comprising of private and utility boats and cutter in the occupied territory of the Kherson Oblast, more than 10 tons of fuel and lubricants leaked into the Dnipro River, which caused oil pollution and the death of river flora and fauna. Besides the threat to the radiation safety of Ukraine and other countries of the world, at least 30 detonations of dogs, foxes, and wild boars on mines were recorded during the autumn months of the year 2023 due to the mining of the perimeter around the Zaporozhye NPP by Russian occupiers. Dolphins are being killed as a result of underwater explosions and the mining of marine areas, which cause disorientation of cetaceans, the formation of wounds and large burns in their bodies, as a result of which they die. For example, dead dolphins were found on the coast of Tuzlivsky Limany National Nature Park in April 2022. It should be also noted that the number of casualties, injured and displaced civilians and military personnel are exponentially high, along with the number of flora and fauna that have been undergoing a major decline in population. Since the start of the war, an estimated 70,000 Ukrainian soldiers have been killed and 140,000 have been injured in combat activities. Almost 90% of military combat injuries reported have been to the extremities, with about one-third of these attributable to long bone fractures. Higher rates of limb amputations have also been reported. Since the start of the invasion, it is estimated that more than 30,000 civilians have been injured or killed as a direct result of combat. As of February 2025, an estimated 3.7 million people are internally displaced within Ukraine, while around 6.9 million have sought refuge in Europe and beyond as of February 2025, according to UNHCR. Approximately 12.7 million people are in urgent need of humanitarian assistance in 2025, including nearly 2 million children. More than 2.5 million homes across the country, 13% of the housing stock, have been damaged or destroyed, leaving many Ukrainians in damaged homes or in buildings ill-prepared for life-threatening freezing temperatures. Particularly vulnerable groups include older people and people with special needs who may be unable to flee from high-risk areas. Women and children, who make up approximately 76% of refugees fleeing the crisis, are at risk of gender-based violence and physical abuse. The war has devastated Ukraine's economy as well. The poverty levels are soaring due to displacement. The Russian Federation continues to target and threaten many innocent lives in Ukraine, including children, women, and elderly, through launching multiple ballistic missile attacks despite of being charged with turning out to be responsible of engaging in war crimes against nationals of Ukraine, including illegal, unlawful, and forcible deportation of at least 19,546 children from Ukraine to Russia since 18th of February 2022, as reported by a legal expert at the Regional Center for Human Rights. The numbers are estimated to be even higher, as 150,000 to 740,000, according to reports from verified sources. It should be also highlighted that amidst the ongoing attempts to initially secure ceasefire plans for predefined time periods and eventually progress towards long-lasting peace deals with the Russian Federation as put forth by the United States of America, that involved a call backed by Washington and Kiev for an unconditional 30-day ceasefire that also included a halt of attacks on energy infrastructure within Ukraine, along with attempting to broker a Russia-Ukraine peace deal. The Russian Federation continues to reject and avoid acknowledging the efforts made by both Ukraine and the United States of America through engaging in acts of violation, as continuing to target and destroy energy infrastructure, civilian and military facilities. According to reports from verified sources, the Russian Federation has violated the energy ceasefire agreement that was put into effect on March 25th of 2025 by targeting and causing damage to one of the Kherson's energy facilities on the morning of April 1st of 2025 and leaving 45,000 people without electricity. Similarly, warehouses owned by Ukraine state gas producer in the central region of Poltava has to endure a strike made by a Russian drone, causing devastating damage to the company's gas production facilities, as well as amidst the truce on energy strike that was put into effect on the March 25th of 2025. It should be also noted that there are reports stating the Russian Federation of violating the energy ceasefire agreement over 30 times since March, when the agreement was made. On another instance, in the Ukrainian city of Kryvyi Rih, 11 adults and 9 children were killed by a Russian missile that struck the city on April 4th of 2025. This was regarded as one of the deadliest attacks on civilians in months, that was launched at a dense residential area, including a playground, claiming 20 innocent lives. It was also reported that a 9-year-old named Herman Tripolex had been playing on a swing when the missile struck. At least 50 people were wounded, along with a 3-month-old baby. This brutal attack also claimed the lives of two 15-year-olds named Danilo Nikitsky and Alina Kutsenko on April 13th of 2025, during the occasion of Palm Sunday. 2 Russian ballistic missiles slammed into the heart of the northern Ukrainian city of Sumy, killing 35 people and wounding 117, which was regarded as the most gruesome attack on Ukraine this year. Bodies of innocents who were attending the customary church service on the day were strewn about street, according to reports. The attack that took place on a holy day, as Palm Sunday, was launched soon after the presidential envoy of United States of America held talks with the elected head of the Russian Federation regarding plans of ending war, as per reports from credible sources. To have prevented or minimized the impact of deadly attacks such as the one in Sumy, the Ukrainian military and intelligence services could have implemented a combination of strategic measures focused on intelligence, defense, and coordination. Enhanced intelligence gathering and early warning systems could have played a crucial role by intercepting enemy communications and detecting troop or drone movements near the border using drones, satellites, and signals intelligence. Pattern analysis and real-time surveillance, especially through partners' supplied systems, could have helped predict likely targets based on past Russian tactics. Integrating artificial intelligence and data analytics might have further assisted in identifying anomalies or early warning signs of impending attacks. If Sumy had been identified as a high-risk target, the military could have reinforced key locations such as military installations, energy infrastructure, and public buildings, while also deploying mobile air defense systems like SHORAD system of SAM Sparks, along with legacy systems like the ZSU-23 Shilka, ZU-23-2, and 2S6 Tunguska. Civilians or personnel could have been relocated as a precaution. Airspace and border surveillance could have been further upgraded. Deploying acoustic detection systems could have enabled earlier identification of incoming threats. Taken together, these actions could have greatly enhanced Ukraine's capacity to detect, prepare for, and respond to such attacks effectively. Despite the continued struggle for survival, economical imbalance, and decline in rich biodiversity, Ukraine is still blessed with extraordinary natural wealth. According to Kyiv's estimates, nearly 5% of the world's critical raw materials are located within our borders. These resources are not merely commodities for export. They are the backbone of the modern global economy and strategic tools for national self-determination. Among these, Ukraine holds approximately 19 million tons of proven graphite reserves, placing us among the top 5 global suppliers of a mineral that is vital for manufacturing electric vehicle batteries. Ukraine also possesses 7% of Europe's titanium reserves, essential for building aircraft and energy infrastructure. Even more significantly, Ukraine is home to 1/3 of all European lithium deposits, a key mineral in battery technology and green energy systems. Our land is rich in beryllium and uranium, vital for nuclear energy and defense technologies, as well as substantial deposits of copper, lead, zinc, silver, nickel, cobalt, and manganese, all of which are crucial to global industries. Furthermore, Ukraine has significant reserves of rare earth elements, a group of 17 minerals essential for the production of electronics, military equipment, wind turbines, and clean energy systems. In light of this strategic wealth, the Memorandum of Intent signed and the finalization of the planned minerals deal by the coming up days, potentially by the 26th of April 2025, with the United States, must be approached with utmost caution. While this agreement proposes to establish an investment fund for reconstruction and strengthen an economic partnership, it notably lacks any promise of a security guarantee from the United States. This omission is not a minor detail. It is a fundamental flaw. Without binding assurances for Ukraine's defense and sovereignty, any deal involving our most critical natural assets risks compromising our long-term national interests. Ukraine's current struggle for survival, militarily economically, and socially should not be used as a justification to surrender strategic resources. These minerals must remain as tools for building a strong, self-sufficient Ukrainian economy. We should prioritize Ukrainian ownership, development, and benefit, ensuring that our people, not foreign powers, are the primary beneficiaries. The potential of these resources to power Ukrainian industry, jobs, innovation, and resilience must not be handed over without ironclad safeguards. The gravity of this moment cannot be overstated. These minerals do not belong to this generation alone. They are a legacy to be preserved for the benefit of future Ukrainians, our children and grandchildren who will rely on this wealth for energy, technology, national security, and moreover, global competitiveness. Therefore, I humbly request the representatives of Ukraine not to sign the April 26th minerals deal under any circumstances unless it includes enforceable terms that preserve Ukrainian control, ensure fair economic returns for Ukraine, and most importantly, provide binding long-term security guarantees. Anything less is unacceptable for a sovereign nation fighting for its future. On a final note, let this fight for justice and righteousness triumph over greed for power and control, paying off tribute to our fallen heroes. With great respect and unwavering faith in Ukraine's resilience and independence, signing off, a commoner. Thank you.